Have you ever wondered how a car works? It's not just a simple push of a pedal or turn of a key. It's a symphony of mechanical, electrical, and chemical processes, all working together to get you from point A to point B. At its core, a car is a marvel of engineering and science, a machine that harnesses the power of combustion, transforms it into motion, and uses it to drive wheels on the road. From the moment you insert the key into the ignition to the second you apply the brakes, numerous systems and components are at work. They all play their part in the grand performance that is driving. From the intake of fuel and air, through combustion, piston movement, power transmission, and finally, to the wheels and brakes. And let's not forget the electrical systems, exhaust and cooling systems, and the fuel system. So buckle up and get ready. Let's dive into the fascinating world of cars and understand how they work. The journey of making a car move starts with the introduction of fuel and air into the engine. This process varies between gasoline and diesel engines. In gasoline engines, fuel is sprayed as a fine mist into the combustion chamber. On the flip side, diesel engines first compress air and then inject diesel fuel. This key difference between gasoline and diesel engines makes each uniquely suited for certain applications. Now that the fuel and air are in the engine, what happens next? Inside the engine, a process called combustion takes place. It's like a well-orchestrated dance between fuel, air, and a spark. The air and fuel mixture, introduced in the combustion chamber, ignites, but not spontaneously. You see, in gasoline engines, this ignition is triggered by a spark plug. It's a tiny piece of technology that creates a spark strong enough to ignite the air-fuel mixture. On the other hand, diesel engines rely on sheer pressure. The air is compressed to such an extent that its temperature rises enough to ignite the diesel fuel injected into the chamber. This ignition results in a controlled explosion, creating a tremendous amount of heat and pressure. It's this intense pressure that's harnessed to power your car. It's like creating a mini firework explosion, but instead of colorful light, it produces raw power. This combustion pushes the piston downward in the cylinder. But what does this mean? The force generated by the combustion pushes the piston downward, setting in motion a series of actions. As the piston is forced downward, it moves independently within its own cylinder. Now imagine a group of these cylinders, each housing a piston moving up and down in its own rhythm. This dance of pistons is orchestrated to perfection, but it doesn't stop here. These pistons are connected to something called the crankshaft, a rotating shaft that is the heart of the engine's mechanical power. Picture this. As each piston moves up and down, it pushes and pulls on the crankshaft. This action converts the linear motion of the pistons into a rotary motion, causing the crankshaft to rotate. This rotation is a vital step in the process of transforming fuel into forward motion. The rotating crankshaft, brimming with potential energy, is the bridge between the engine's internal combustion and the car's movement. The rotating crankshaft is now ready to transmit power. Power transmission is where the car really starts to move. Let's delve into this process. The rotating crankshaft we've talked about is connected to the transmission. Now the transmission has a crucial role. It changes gear ratios and transmits power to the wheels. Imagine it as a bridge, bridging the gap between the engine and the wheels. In a car, you often have different gears. Each gear corresponds to a different speed. You start in first gear, which provides the most torque but the least speed. As you shift up, you get more speed but less torque. The transmission does all this by changing the gear ratios. But how does the power get to the wheels? Well, the transmission sends this power to a differential. This differential then divides and sends this power to the wheels, allowing them to rotate at different speeds. This is especially important when taking turns, as the inside wheel needs to rotate slower than the outside one. The power is now ready to be transmitted to the wheels. The power from the transmission is transmitted to the drive wheels of the car. This is where we start to see the car in motion. Depending on the car's design, the power could be transmitted to the front wheels, the rear wheels, or all four wheels. This is what determines whether the car is front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, or all-wheel drive. Now let's talk about steering. The steering wheel is connected to the front wheels through a system of linkages and joints, which is often referred to as the steering system. When you turn the steering wheel, these linkages and joints move, causing the front wheels to turn. This allows you, the driver, to control the direction of the car. But what happens when you want to slow down or stop the car? That's where the braking system comes in. When you apply the brakes, you're actually activating a hydraulic system. This system increases the force you apply to the brake pedal and transmits it to the brake pads or shoes. These brake pads or shoes then press against the brake discs or drums, which are connected to the wheels. Because of the friction between the brake pads or shoes and the brake discs or drums, the wheels slow down or stop turning. This is what slows down or stops the car. So, to put it all together, the power from the engine is transmitted to the drive wheels, which makes the car move. The steering system allows you to control the direction of the car, and the braking system allows you to slow down or stop the car. In essence, the combination of the drive wheels, the steering system, and the braking system allows you to control where the car goes, at what speed, and when it stops. Without these systems, a car would simply be a large, heavy, uncontrollable object. The car can now move, steer, and stop. But what about the various electrical systems? These are equally important, and we'll delve into them in the next scene. Stay tuned. Cars have various electrical systems that perform different functions. Let's start with the battery. The battery in your car is like its heart, providing the electrical power needed to start the engine and operate accessories when the engine is off. Next up is the alternator. Think of it as the lungs of the car. While the engine is running, the alternator recharges the battery, ensuring it's always ready for the next start. It also provides power to the electrical systems of the car, keeping everything from your headlights to your radio running smoothly. Lastly, we have various sensors scattered throughout the car. These act like the car's nervous system, relaying information about everything from engine temperature to tire pressure back to the car's computer. This helps keep the car running at its best and alerts you to any potential issues. After combustion, the leftover exhaust gases need to be expelled, but that's a story for another scene. The exhaust system and cooling system play crucial roles in a car. Let's dive into the exhaust system first. After the combustion process, what's left are exhaust gases. These need to be expelled from the engine to keep it running smoothly. This is where the exhaust system steps in. It channels these gases through the exhaust manifold and pipes, but it doesn't stop there. To ensure we're doing our part for the environment, the catalytic converter jumps in, reducing harmful emissions. And the noise produced during this process, that's where the muffler comes in, dampening the sound to give you a quieter ride. Now let's shift gears to the cooling system. The engine generates a lot of heat, and while some heat is good, too much can be damaging. That's why we have the cooling system. It's like the car's personal air conditioner. This system circulates a coolant, usually a mixture of water and antifreeze, through the engine. Then it's off to the radiator, which acts like a heat sink, dissipating excess heat into the atmosphere. This keeps the engine temperature in check, preventing overheating and ensuring optimal performance. So there you have it. The exhaust system gets rid of waste, the cooling system keeps the heat at bay, and together they help your car perform at its best. Finally, let's look at the fuel system. The fuel system ensures that the engine receives the right amount of fuel for combustion. This system is a complex network of components, each playing a crucial role in the process. At the heart of this system is the fuel tank, storing the fuel, be it gasoline or diesel, that your car runs on. From there, the fuel pump takes over, pushing the fuel through the lines and into the engine. This is where the fuel filter comes into play, purifying the fuel by trapping any dirt or debris that could potentially harm the engine. Once the fuel is clean, it's directed towards the injectors. Here, it's mixed with air and atomized into a fine mist, ready for combustion. The fuel pressure regulator ensures that the fuel pressure is at the optimal level for this process. To avoid wastage, any unused fuel is returned back to the tank via a return line. And that's how a car works. It's a complex but fascinating process.